Okay, Boker Tov. Our daf today is daf Ayin Vav 76. We pick up on the bottom of Ayin Hamid Bet right after the Gemara, right after the Mishnah, starting at the Gemara, and the Mishnah says that if an asham, right, gets mixed up, which tends to be male, with another sacrifice, a shlam, which can be male or female. Okay, basically, an asham is male, a chatas is female, an ola is male. And a shlamim can be either. So the Gemara yesterday dealt with like what scenarios could things get mixed up, because if what certain mean is only male and certain is only female, then you're never going to get them confused. But anyway, anything can get mixed up with a shlamim because a shlamim is male or female. So an asham gets mixed up with a shlamim. So fine, play it safe. Shecht it in the north. And eat and have the male Kohanim eat it like as an asham. I mean, shecht both of them in the north, so that whichever one is an asham, you're eating correctly, and whichever one is a shlamim, there's nothing wrong with shechting a shlamim in the north and with having male Kohanim eat it. Okay, and that's basically the position of Rebbe Shimon.
And in terms of the blood, they're both below anyway, right? Because only the chatas.
And the blood is the same place. Everything other than a chatas, the blood is in the same place. Comes along to Chachamim, the Chachamim say no. But that's not going to work because you're limiting the people and the time in which the shlamim can be eaten. It can only be eaten by male kohanim. More significantly, can only be eaten for 1 day, not for 2 days, and therefore you're raising the likelihood that some of the meat will become notar and have to be burnt.
So that's
absurd. Well, right. That's called ein mevim kodshim lebeis hapsul. You don't bring sacrifices into the house of invalidity, meaning you don't sort of put them in a context in which it's more likely they'll become invalid. So Michael says correctly. So what are you supposed to do? So what you're supposed to do is you wait till they get a blemish, and then you basically, you redeem it, and you say, whichever one of these animals is an asham, its value goes on this money, and use this money to buy an asham, and whichever one is a shlamim, its value goes on this money, and use this money to buy a shlamim, and then you know which is which. So, but okay, it takes time, and you have to wait for them to get a blemish, etc. So that's why, the obvious response for Rabbi Shimon is like, Rabbi Shimon's obvious response to the Chachamim who's got this problem is, well, do you have a better solution, right? And the answer is, well, yeah, we do have a better solution. But presumably, if you didn't have a better solution, what else are you supposed to do, right? Better do this than to just have them go to waste. All right, so presumably that is the point of Rabbi Shimon. It's a question about whether to do this or not when there's a different possible solution. So let's take a look at the Gemara. Tani Tana Kamei to Rav. So the Tana caught in front of Rav. Shvius, if you have Shvius money, Ein lochim b'dameha truma. You don't buy truma with your shvius money. Why? Because things you buy with shvius money, like fruit you sold and then it gets kedushas shvius, what you buy with it, if you buy fruit, anything you have that has kedushas shvius, at a certain point in the year, when the food is not longer available for the animals out in the field, you have to destroy. You're not allowed to keep it. You have to destroy, the food that you have at home, the shvius produce, if it's no longer available for the animals in the field. That's called shas habir. And if you bought food with kedushas shvius, with money that had a kedushas shvius, the same halacha would apply.
I'm sorry, wait, how did this happen exactly? You're not supposed to sell your food.
No, you're allowed to sell if it's not commercial or whatever. Okay, there are circumstances in which you can sell shvius and the money transfers. But whether you were supposed to or not, it doesn't matter. You have money that has shvius. So don't use that money to buy truma. Why? Because now you're going to make the truma have kedushat shvius, and you might have to destroy the truma if you don't eat it in time. So that's an example of mevim kodshim lebeis hapsul. Now, it is interesting because this is not kodshim, it's not korbanot. But the Gemara is willing to assume that the same would be true by grain that has kedusha. If it's truma, if it's meiser, whatever, meiser sheni, whatever, we'll see that this question about can you put it in a context where you might have to destroy it early will come up. Okay, so the Braita says, Ein lokim b'tameh truma, because you limit the time of eating. Okay, that's a reasonable position. So the rabbi said this in front of Rava or Rabba. Okay, after they heard this Braita, they repeated it, and they said, Hadalok Rabbi Shimon. Presumably the author of that Braita is not like Rabbi Shimon, because Rabbi Shimon of our Mishnah doesn't have a problem with putting it in a context where it might get destroyed earlier. Rabbi Shimon says you're allowed to do that and put things in a context where they might have to get destroyed earlier. So you should be allowed to buy truma with your shemitah money. Amar lehu. So Rabbi said back to them, Afilu tem Rabbi Shimon. No. Even Rabbi Shimon of our Mishnah would agree not to do that with your shvius money. Why not? Why? Hanimili di'avid. the avad. I like this because the avad is written out fully. The avad is really a contraction of two words. The avad, if it was already done. Okay. When did Rabbi Shimon in our Mishnah say that you can do it? Because you have already the stuff is already mixed up and you don't have a choice. So for him, he just felt that was the best solution to a problem. If you've got a problem, he feels that this is a possible solution to it, even if it means you might have to destroy, the korban only has 1 day rather than 2 days. But lichatchila lo. But if you just have Shemitah money, he's not going to let you use that Shemitah money to buy truma. He's not going to let you lichatchila get something in a bad status like that you might have to destroy it. Okay, if it's already in a problematic status, he might say he will say that this is a legitimate solution. But why would he lichatchila let you use that money to buy truma? Very reasonable position. Okay, so now we're going to explore that for a lot of today's daf. Will Rabbi Shimon allow you to do this lichatchila? Is he completely unconcerned with this idea? He'll just say, I trust you to be responsible, and I'm completely unconcerned. Or is he saying, I'll allow it when the situation warrants? Okay, so the Gemara says, lichatchila lo, would he really not allow this lichatchila? Esvei, I'll ask you on this. Esvei Abai challenges. So he's challenging Rabbah. Rabbah is the one who says he would not say it lechatchila. Abaye, a student of Rabbah, is now going to challenge to where it's going to look like from various Mishnayot or whatever that Rabbi Shimon will allow it lechatchila.
So this wouldn't work if it was Rav, because that would be.
I understand. Okay, the Chulan Risha'in. So a later Mishnah teaches all of them, all the various sacrifices. The Chulan, Risha'in Kohanim l'shanot achilatan. The Kohanim can do, eat them any way they want. Okay, remember the Mishnah that up said v'nechalim l'chol ma'achal can be eaten in any way. So here's the Mishnah spells this out. All these sacrifices can be eaten by the Kohanim however they want. La'chlon tzluyin, roasted, shlukin, double boiled, mevushalim, cooked.
That's like mine did for a question. Talis shalukum.
Right, exactly. And they can put it in any spices that they want. By the way, spices does not just mean like ground up peppercorn. It also actually means like onions and garlic and so on. Okay, tavlei chulin, the tavlei truma, and even truma spices. They can throw in some truma onions into it. Okay,
so this is your no, but you're cleaning your pot.
We're not paying attention to the pot right now. Divrei Rabbi Shimon. That's what Rabbi Shimon says. Now, why is this a chiddush? Because you have your truma onion, you throw it in your chatas pot, your chatas stew. Now this truma onion you're only going to be able to eat for 1 day, right? You got it. So how come Rabbi Shimon allows you lichatchila to throw your truma onion into your chatas stew? That's mivim kachim lebeis apsul. The kachim here is the truma. Okay, the truma, now you're limiting the time of eating. So you see that Rabbi Shimon allows it even lechatchila. Okay, that's a pretty good proof. So Amar lei, so Rabbah said back to him, Hanach l'trumas tavlin d'Rabbanan. Don't bother me about tavlin, about garlic and onions. That's all vegetables. Vegetables is only rabbinic truma. So fine, Rabbi Shimon allows it by rabbinic. I know, but the side corrects as it corrects with Rabbi Shimon.
Yeah, it makes it much better.
It only made sense if it's Rabbi Shimon because we're asking within Rabbi Shimon. Okay, don't bother me about that. When it's a rabbinic, type of a thing, he'll allow you to put it in that circumstance. But if it's biblical, he won't let you do it if there's another option. He won't let you do it lechatchila. Not if there's another option, excuse me. But he wouldn't let you do it lechatchila. He'll only let you do it when you got to solve a problem. Okay, Esvei. All right, let me challenge this assertion again. I'm going to try again to prove that Rabbi Shimon will allow it lechatchila. Ein lochin truma bekesef maaser. You don't buy truma with maaser money. So maaser money means meiser sheni money, because you limit its time of being eaten. So there's a fascinating debate here between Rashi and Tosfos. What are you limiting? Rashi says you're limiting the ability to eat the truma. Okay, because we were just talking about truma a minute ago. Okay, why? Because what do you mean?
Well, truma can be eaten anywhere.
Truma can be eaten anywhere, and meiser can only be eaten. Sheni can only be eaten in Yerushalayim. So that's a little funny. Normally we talk about limiting the time. Here it's limiting the circumstances, but you could understand limiting the circumstances could also lead to problems. Although it's not exactly the same, because I guess things rot. But if it's just a question of location, I could just wait till next time I'm going to Yerushalayim. Anyway, Rashi says what you're doing is you're limiting the truma. Tos says, no, it's the opposite. You're limiting the maaser, because you're taking maaser sheni that could be eaten by anybody, and now you're making it that it could only be eaten by kohanim. So according to
now
either,
Master Shani is now where I'm coaching.
now Meister Sheni is in the kachim category. Okay, so
But no one has a problem with chulin.
What?
No one has a problem
Correct.
with chulin.
Okay. So anyway, and also, but in neither of the cases are you limiting the time. Okay. So either way, it's a chiddush that mevim kachim beis psul here is not a question about time. All right.
You know, you could say that, like, since you can only do it in Yerushalayim, who's going to be in Yerushalayim the whole time? Right?
What?
And if I can eat something everywhere,
right,
and now I can only eat something like Truma I can eat anywhere outside of Yerushalayim.
Right.
So, but now this I can eat in Yerushalayim, and especially if you're not from Yerushalayim, you have to go up there for stay there a certain amount of time. I
understand. So all these things increase the likelihood that you might wind up rotting or throwing it out and so on. But the just point is that it's worth noting, though, that we moved from a case where there was clearly like a clock running out, okay, whether the clock was a Shvius clock or a one-day Chatas clock, to a case where it's a question about fewer people or fewer locations. Okay, anyway, one way or another, you can't do this because it's going to, to limit its ability to be eaten. Of Rabbi Shimon matir, and Rabbi Shimon allows it. So here you have Rabbi Shimon allowing it l'chatchila, okay, and presumably here we're dealing with still raita. Nobody is limiting this to a case where the thing that's a problem here, whether the problem is the meiser or the truma, is only a durabanan. So here presumably it's a doraita thing that you're limiting its ability to be eaten, and Rabbi Shimon allows it l'chatchila. So that is pretty much a slam dunk, good proof that Rabbi Shimon allows it l'chatchila. But interestingly now, the rest of the Gemara's discussion is going to sort of bracket the point that you just proved your point, and say, wait a minute, there's a lot of other Mishnayot that we could have quoted where it seems evident that Rabbi Shimon allows this lechatchila. So even though you've brought a Mishnah that proved it, but now we're going to get into a whole discussion of why don't you bring this Mishnah? Why don't you bring this Mishnah? There's a lot of other Mishnayot that seem to make this point, okay, that Rabbi Shimon allows it lechatchila. So let's take a look, okay. Rav Yosef. Now, when Rav Yosef, so Abaye challenged Rabbah and proved, Rabbah said Rabbi Shimon doesn't allow it lechatchila. Okay, Rav Yosef and Rabbah are contemporaries. Abaye is the next generation. So Rabbah said Rabbi Shimon doesn't allow it lechatchila. Abaye proved that he did from this last Mishnah we just quoted. And now Abaye is coming to Rav Yosef and telling him over, here's what Rabbah said, here's how I argue that, it should be that Rabbi Shimon does allow it lechatchila. So Kiyasa l'kamid Rav Yosef, Amalei, Rav Yosef said to Abaye, Amaylo tosfei meha. Why didn't you challenge Rabbah from this other Mishnah? We've got other Mishnayot that make it clear that Rabbi Shimon allows it l'chatchila. What other Mishnah? A Mishnah in Shvius. Ein mevashling yerek shel Shvius b'shemen shel truma. You don't go ahead and take a Shvius vegetable and cook it in truma oil, all right? There, exactly, by the way, this is important because here's the phrase, the same phrase we have in our Mishnah. You don't bring, and here kachim is explicitly being used in a non-korban context. You don't bring the kachim to the house of invalidity. Which is the kachim you bring to the house of invalidity? Okay, the truma here is now again being limited in the time that it can be eaten because you're cooking it with a shvius product. So now you are limiting the ability of the truma to be eaten. Rabbi Shimon matir, again, Rabbi Shimon allows it lechatchila, okay? Amalei Abaye, so Abaye says, there was a reason I didn't quote that Mishnah, because I had already asked him from this case of tavlin, of putting like the onions and the garlic, in the pot. He said, don't bother me with something that's only rabbinic. I'm not rabbinic, fine. Rabbi Shimon would allow it. So I didn't bother asking him on the case about the vegetable and the oil, because he would have said to me, yeah, that's also rabbinic.
Vegetable oil.
Well, but the vegetable is only rabbinically truma, so that's why he would have just dismissed it, and therefore I didn't bother asking that. Okay, so the Gemara says, so Rav Yosef said back to Abaye, no, I'm sorry, Abaye, this actually was a good proof, because here, what are you limiting the time of eating? Remember, you got a truma carrot, and excuse me, yeah, you got a truma carrot. And no, excuse me. You've got a shvius carrot. You've got a shvius carrot, and you've got truma oil. Which one, when you cook them together, which ones? No, yerek shel shvius. Okay, you've got a shvius. You've got a shvius carrot. No, he's going to say what the opposite would have been, but let's say what it is. You have a shvius carrot and truma oil. Now, if you cook them together, which one are you limiting? Which one are you compromising? Shvius carrot, truma oil. Which one is being compromised? Which one is being limited the time it can be eaten because you cook them together? The oil. The oil, because of the shvius carrot, now this oil can be eaten for less time.
Yeah, but now shvius, though, fewer people.
Quiet. We're not worried about that right now. Okay, anyway, the truma oil is biblical, okay? Oil on truma, it actually says explicitly, dagan tirosh v'yitzar. Okay, so the truma oil is biblical. So when did Rabbah say, oh, we can limit the time of things that are only rabbinic sanctity? Fine. But here, it's true that the shvius carrot is rabbinic. But what you're doing is you're limiting something with biblical sanctity because you're limiting the truma oil. So you should have proven him from this case. Don't tell me he would have dismissed it because it's rabbinic. What you can dismiss because it's rabbinic is when the sanctity that's being constricted is rabbinic. But here, the sanctity is the truma oil, and that's being constricted. And even so, Rabbi Shimon allows it. Okay. So he says back to me, Hachi, 1 minute. If you wanted to say this isn't relevant because it's rabbinic, then it should have been the reverse. Yerek shel truma b'shemen shel shvius. Okay? Then it should have said, oh, you can cook a truma vegetable with shvius oil. Then you could have said, oh, that doesn't prove anything because the kedusha that's being restricted is only a rabbinic kedusha. But now that the oil is truma, and the carrot is shvius, this is a good proof against him because Rabbi Shimon is or against Rabbah because Rabbi Shimon is lichatchila letting you limit the kedusha of the truma, of the biblical kedusha of the truma in the oil by cooking it together with the carrot. So why didn't you ask him from this case? This is a great case that you're allowed to do it lechatchila. Everybody get that? Yeah. Okay, so you should have asked him. Here you see Rabbi Shimon allows it lechatchila even with truma oil, which is biblical, which is doraita. So Abai is going to say, here's why I didn't ask in that case. So, no, here's why I didn't ask him from the case of the carrot and the oil, because I had already challenged him from the Mishnah where the korbanot get mixed up, and Reb Shimon allows it. But Amar Li, and he answered me back, the arev, no, that's b'diavad, because the stuff's already mixed up. So therefore, he told me he wasn't impressed by a scenario.
Do you mean he asked him outside of this? I don't.
Yeah, that was the first question. It was from our mission. He said, "Diavad." Right down. Okay, and he so he said, yeah. Once it's already mixed up and there's a problem, you got to fix it. Then Rabbi Shimon will allow it. So he would have said the same thing to me about the carrot and the oil. Why? Because although our mission makes it sound like you're lichatchila, putting your carrot in your frying pan of oil, he would have said to me, no. That case that Rabbi Shimon allows you to cook the carrot and oil together is that the carrot's already been soaking in the oil and it's already after the fact. Okay? So that's not Pshat of the Mishnah, but that's what he would have said. Hachanami di Yarev. So you're asking me, Rav Yosef, why didn't I challenge him from the Mishnah of the carrot and the oil? Because he would have said to me, that doesn't mean l'chatchila you can fry your carrot in oil. That means if your carrot has been soaking in oil, you can go ahead and put it into the pot and into the pan. Got it? Mm-hmm. So Rav Yosef says, no, you can't say that. If the case there was that the carrot was soaking in oil, matamayu d'Rabbanan. How would the rabbi say you're not allowed to cook it? What should you do with it? Throw it out? Right? If it's already been soaking in oil, of course you're allowed to cook it. What other choice do you have? So the Gemara said, no. So he has midi dahabi asher b'shlamim. So Abai said back to him, well, what do you mean? The rabbis disagreed with him by the case of the animals, the asham and the shlamim. Of course, there's an answer. There's a fix. Midami hasam yislei takanta. By the asham and shlamim, there's a way to fix it. B're'iyah, you let him graze and you redeem it. Okay, what are you going to do? Let your carrot graze? Okay, so anyway, all right, so it's fascinating. Like you could have asked him this case, but again, to step back, because maybe got a little bit mixed in the back and forth, okay, can we prove that Rabbi Shimon allows it lechatchila? So Rav Yosef said, you should have proven it to him that Rabbi Shimon allows you to cook the carrot and the oil lechatchila together. And Abai said back, nah, he just would have said that the carrot was already soaking in oil, and it's not a lechatchila. So then, to which the response is, that can't be, because then why would the rabbis argue? And don't tell me the rabbis argue in the Mishnah. There's an alternative. Here, there's not an alternative. What are you supposed to do with a carrot soaking in oil?
Can you use it like compost or?
But it doesn't matter. The time period has already been limited because it's soaking together. So what do you lose by cooking them together? So if the case was that they were already soaking together, there would be no logic to prohibit somebody from cooking it together. What would be the alternative? So Abai is going to say, wait, I have a possible alternative. So the Ravina is going to say it. What this case would be like is if you actually got the meat of an asham and shlami mixed up. And if you have no solution, of course you're going to just treat it like, eat it like an asham. So here too, the carrot and the oil are mixed up. Why should anybody, why would, if that were the case, how could the rabbi say don't cook it together? What else are you supposed to do? Okay, so Maskif la Ravina, so Ravina's got a solution. No, it could be it was already soaking in oil, and the rabbis didn't want you to cook it because they thought that there was a way you could salvage the oil. What could you do? Midami. Meat of sacrifices that get mixed up, there's literally nothing you can do. Here you can take the carrot and squeeze out the oil. Now, not really, you're not going to get all the oil out, but maybe the point is, well, at least the oil you do get out, you'll salvage. Okay, of course, the funny thing is, we're not afraid that after it's been soaking together, the oil that comes out, we're not concerned that it's got some taste of carrot in it, and that should limit it. That's a whole fascinating Tom question. Okay, but he says maybe that's still the scenario. It's already mixed together, and therefore for Rabbi Shimon it is a b'diavad. And the only reason the rabbis don't agree is they feel that you can salvage the oil, you can squeeze it out. So the Gemara is going to respond back. Rav Yosef felt, give me a break. Hey, how do you want to squeeze it out? Nischot tuva, really squeeze it out, put it in one of those, juice squeezers and get it all out. So kamafsi b'shviyas, you're going to destroy the carrot, which is shviyas. Okay, so that's not a solution. Okay, nischot parsa, do a simple squeeze. So if you're of nare, so there's still going to be oil left in the carrot. Okay, so that's the carrot and the oil, where Rav Yosef says, if you want to prove that Rabbi Shimon allows it l'chatchila, yes, in the end, you did prove it from this case about buying, shvius with meiser money, okay? But you could also have proven it from the case of the carrot and the oil, where clearly that's a l'chatchila case. Don't tell me it's some b'diavad case, it's already mixed together. And therefore, and even so, Rabbi Shimon allows it. So that is another example of Rabbi Shimon allowing it l'chatchila. Okay, now the Gemara continues. Eisvei, I'm going to challenge you on this claim that Rabbi Shimon allows it l'chatchila. Rabbi Shimon Omer, the macharas mevi ashamav lugo. So you have a guy, and that's what this huge tosis is for you. You got the exact scenario, who might be a mitzora that is considered a mitzora muchlat, like a definite mitzora that basically, he's been declared a full mitzora, and he, in order to become tahor, needs to have the whole process with the birds on day 7 and then bring a sacrifice on day 8. But there's some doubt, and he might not be a mitzora. It's fascinating. Like, since you need a kohen to declare somebody a mitzora, how do you have a doubt? But anyway, like, if he didn't declare him, he wasn't a mitzora. But anyway, he might not be a mitzora. And therefore, how do you bring the sacrifice on day 8 to allow him to be considered totally tahor if he might not be obligated in the sacrifice? So you make a lot of stipulations, okay? And here's what you do. The day after, his 7 days, maybe asham avalugo. You bring the asham, right, which is a male sacrifice, and the log of oil. Because remember, you do a whole ritual. The Kohen pours the oil on the hand. He sprinkles it towards, the kodesh. He puts some, on the ear, and whatever. And then he pours from the hand on the head. You got a whole ritual going on with the oil. Okay, and so you bring the oil. The omer, and here's how you stipulate. Im shomitzora. If this guy is a real mitzora, so then it's like it looks like. This is the asham, this is the log shemen, and we'll do it as we're supposed to do it. If this guy isn't a mitzora, ashaman zeh shlamim nedava. This asham, which is, we'll use it, we'll make it into a shlamim. Okay, the also asham. Now, what do you do with this asham? It might be a shlamim. And it might be a, and it might be what do you call it? And it might be a, and it might be an asham. It might be an asham. It might be a shlamim. Now, first of all, let's say, why did you make it a shlamim? Why didn't you say an asham is male? Why didn't you say if it's not an asham, it'll be an ola? Right. Why do you think? You couldn't say if it's not an asham, it'll be a chatas. First of all, a chatas is female. Second of all, a chatas you only bring if you have a sin. But why did you say if it's not an asham, let it be an ola? So just think, what would you have to do with it if it were an ola? You'd have to burn it. You don't want to be burning the meat that should be eaten. So you're going to say if it's not an asham, it's a shlamim. Okay, now a shlomim could be eaten out of the base of mikdash by anyone, and asham only by male kohanim. So it's just like our Mishnah. There's a way though that we can get all the meat eaten if you're going to be eating it by male kohanim in the beit of mikdash. Okay, so. The also asham ton shchita b'tzafon shechted in the north in case it's an asham. It might be a shlamim, but no harm, no foul. Umatan behonot, you're going to put the blood on the guy's ears, which is what you have to do if it's an asham. If it's a shlamim, again, no harm, no foul. V'smicha, you do smicha on it, which is what you're required to do by a shlamim. Tosfos actually has a discussion. It could be that by an asham you're also required to do smicha, but maybe only rabbinic smicha. Okay, so smicha is interesting. V'nisachim, you bring the wine and the flour and the oil, which you would bring if it were a shlamim. Okay, v'tnuvas chazer v'shok, and wave the chazer and shok. So waving the chazer and shok, if it's an asham and you decided to wave some meat over your head or whatever, be my guest. Okay, you want to play hopscotch with you, whatever. Okay, fine. All right, and you eat it for a day and a night. So the part, and now the real chiddush here is also that the nisachim. But what's in, or I don't know if it's real chiddush, but if what you would do is you'd also stipulate. You'd say if there's a shlamim, these are the nisachim. If this is an asham, then I'm bringing the nisachim as an independent korban. So one way or another, you cover all your bases. Anyway, why is this an esrei? It's an esrei because here Rebbe Shimon, it's an esrei to the claim. It's another challenge to Rabbah. I think I said it wrong the first time. It's not a question on whatever. It's another challenge to Rabbah. Rabbah, you're saying that Rebbe Shimon only allows it b'diavad. Here, Rebbe Shimon is allowing you, because you're eating this stuff, which might be an asham, you're also bringing it as a shlamim. If it's a shlamim, you're limiting the time it can be eaten, right? Because you're treating it as an asham. So you, Rabbah, said that Rebbe Shimon only allows it b'diavad. Here, Rebbe Shimon is allowing you lichatchila to bring a korban, right? To bring something that could be a shlamim and to limit it like an asham. Okay, now the answer to this is obvious. This is not a lichatchila case. There's a guy here that's got to get tahor, right? So the answer is tikune gavra shami. No, come on. It's not a b'diavad in the sense that the stuff already is mixed up. Like the korban isn't in a problematic situation. Okay, that you're right about. But the man is in a problematic situation. Okay, so again, Rabbah will say, I can see that Rebbe Shimon allows you to do it when the circumstances sort of push you in that direction. Okay, so you might not need the korban to be mixed up. Here, the guy is in a problematic situation. But this does not prove to me, says Rabbah, that Rebbe Shimon would allow it totally lechatchila. All right, you got it? Okay, so now we're going to say, okay, now let's figure out how you're able to bring all this stuff. Let's bracket this kachim lebeis apsul for a minute. Okay, we sort of have answered it. Rabbah wants to insist that Rebbe Shimon only allows it b'diavad, but there's a lot of very good evidence that Rebbe Shimon allows it l'chatchila. He's completely unconcerned with it. Now we're going to just try to figure out this case of the asham, okay, independent of the earlier discussion. This asham that might be a shlamim that you're bringing for this mitzorah guy, all right? So here's the case. So the Gemara says like this. Hateinich asham. I got how you do the asham. You make these stipulations, you waive it, the nesachim you bring, you make a stipulation about the nesachim. Log ma'ika l'meimer. What about the oil? How do you play out this oil thing? Okay, because in order to use the oil for the asham, yeah, for the mitzvah, you have to sanctify it. Now, what do you do with the oil after you do the ritual of the oil? The kohanim eat it, and it actually has like sanctity, like a korban. Okay, all right, that'll work if the guy is a mitzvah. Let's say the guy isn't a mitzvah. So what are you supposed to do with this? Now, don't say, now you could say maybe sanctify it b'tnai. If this guy's a mitzvah, I'm sanctifying it. If not, I'm not sanctifying it, and we're just bringing it to the Beit HaMikdash and going to do some ritual with it. All right, what would be the problem of doing that? Sanctifying it on a condition. If the guy's a mitzvah, it's sanctified, this oil, and we're going to go through these rituals. And if he's not a mitzvah, then it's just unsanctified oil. Why do you think that would be a problem? Any guesses? Can you bring unsanctified oil to the Beit HaMikdash and do some ritual with it? No, that's a problem of chulin bazara. Okay, it's not just that physically the oil is there. The oil is there and it's being used in this sort of korban-like ritual. So you can't not say that if it's not being used for mitzvah, it's going to be unsanctified. So what you have to say is, if it's not going to be used for a mitzvah, I'm bringing it as its own korban. Now, there's actually a halacha. Now, you might not know this by reading the Torah, but the Chazal say you can just bring oil as a korban, and what you would do is you would sort of treat it like a mincha. You would take a handbreadth of oil and put it on the fire. I don't know how you get it all off of your hands, okay? And then, the kohanim would eat the rest, okay? So that's what you do. If this is for the mitzvah ritual, we'll do it that way. If it's not, then we're going to bring it as a korban. And either way, the kohanim are going to eat what's left over.
So that's not,
okay?
Then it's kosher. Right?
It's kosher. Okay? But now the Gemara says, wait. Let's figure out how this is going to play out. Okay? So it says like this. Log ma'ikal meimar. So how do you play? How do you sort of stipulate with the log? The Amar. So here's what you say: Log ze yehi nedava. If this isn't for the oil, isn't for a mitzorah, it'll be just a free will offering. So the Gemara says 1 minute. But wait a minute. But if the guy isn't a mitzorah, then you can't just go ahead and eat the oil. You got to do the kmitza and put some of the oil on the fire. The Gemara says, okay, the mikmitz. That is what you do. You both do the sprinkling and the ritual of the mitzvah with the oil, and you put some of the oil on the fire, and you eat the rest. What says 1 minute? Maybe the guy is a mitzvah. So the Gemara is assuming that if you're putting it on the fire, you're not doing the ritual. So the Gemara is saying, wait, but you got to do the ritual. Fine, okay, fine, you're doing both. You're doing some of the oil you're burning on the fire, and some of the oil you're using for the ritual for the mitzvah. The hachasrle, 1 minute. So the Gemara assumes that what you're going to do is that, and it's exactly a question why the Gemara assumes that this is the order. Hold on, let me just double check Rashi. Right, the Gemara is going to assume that you're going to first do the hand breath and burn that on the fire before you do the ritual of the sprinkling. Now, why exactly the Gemara assumes that you have to do that order and not the opposite order is not clear, but let's just work with that. It assumes that first you do the hand breath, and then you're going to do the sprinkling. So the Gemara says 1 minute. If you did the hand breath first, you're not going to have the full amount of oil, okay? And you need the full log of oil to do the ritual, okay? I don't know why you can't start with more than a log, but whatever. The hachasrle, but now if you're doing the kmitza first, then you're not going to have the full log of oil. So the Gemara says, you refill it. You're allowed to refill. You bring a log of oil. If something happens to some of it, you're allowed to refill. Nan, we taught in the Mishnah. Chaser halog achelo yatzak. If the log got something spelled out before the Kohen poured it onto his hand, okay, and started the ritual, you refill it. So you take a kmitza, you burn it. Now, maybe somehow you're allowed to do that. Presumably, the Gemara assumes that that's the order, because presumably, if you would start to do the ritual of the sprinkling, and then would already get like sanctified that way, then maybe there'll be a problem, and we'll take in some of that oil and burning it.
The oil is in a container or something like that?
Yeah. You bring it in a bottle.
Didn't you say you can't bring?
Here's your bottle. Okay.
Yeah, but
Okay.
you sanctified it.
What?
Sanctified the oil.
But what do you sanctify it for?
You stipulate.
Yeah.
If this guy's a mitzvah, it's sanctified as mitzvah oil, and if it isn't, it's sanctified as a free will offering. Okay, and you stipulate the same way you stipulate by the animal.
Yeah, but you bring extra oil when you do this originally, so that
that you refill. Yeah,
that you sanctify the extra oil.
Yeah, you sanctify the extra oil as well. Yeah. Okay, so presumably, so here's the guy. That's the oil. Here's the altar with the fire. Okay, so whatever. There's the fire. Okay, so presumably, if you were to do the order first, if you first were to do it on him, okay, and that would fully sanctify it as mitzorah oil, okay, presumably the Gemara then understands that then there would be a problem taking the oil that's been the remainder of it and putting it on the fire. Okay, it's not clear why, but anyway, the Gemara understands that the order first has to be, number one has to be, we put some of it on the fire. That's number one. Case it's in a dava, and you haven't yet used it here, so it's like more in a space where you can possibly use it for something else. Okay. Step number two is that you're going to refill. Okay, refill. Now, step number three is you're going to now sprinkle it on the guy. Okay, whatever, and sprinkle it towards the aron. You have a couple of sprinklings, and you pour it on the head of the guy. Okay, so you take care of that ritual. Okay. So that's what you do. Some on the fire in case it's in a dava, refill it, sprinkle, and so on. Okay. So now the Gemara says, V'abai haktara. 1 minute, because I actually jumped ahead. Before I assumed that when it said you took the kmitza, you burnt it. The Gemara hasn't yet said you burnt it. The Gemara really has just step one as the Kohen's got it in his hand. Okay, I don't know. It's a funny looking hand. But anyway, okay, the Kohen has.
We got it.
Whatever, you got the idea. Okay, here's the Kohen, and he's got oil in his hand. He's got oily hands. Okay, so anyway, So you did the kmitza. Okay, so now the Gemara says, okay, but you got to burn that. All right, so the Gemara says, you got to burn that oil. The aktule, fine, you'll burn it. Amos, now when are you going to burn it? If you're going to burn it after you do the sprinkling on this guy and the sprinkling towards the aron and whatever, if this is going to be step number 4, so then we've got a problem. What problem do we have? Havlu shirayim shechasru ben kmitza lahaktara. The ein maktirin es hakometz aleihem. Okay, so the halacha is, you take, let's assume like a mincha. You take your kmitza, and you're going to walk it over and burn it on the altar, okay? Before you get to there, some of the mincha spills, all right? You are not allowed to burn the kmitza if the remnant, the shirayim that you left behind afterwards, is not the complete amount, all right? So that's a general principle. So here, if you took the kmitza and then sprinkled it, this was going to be offered up on remnant that is not the complete amount, and you're not allowed to burn this if this isn't complete. So you can't introduce the sprinkling between the kmitza and the burning.
You can't do anything between that.
The kmitza and the burning, right? So the Gemara says, right. So ibasar matanos sheva havli shirayim. So if you do kmitza, then you do the sprinkling, and then you're going to burn it. Shirayim shechosru ben kmitza laktara. The remnant, some of it got lost between the kmitza and the burning. And you can't then burn the komets on shirayim that is not complete. So the Gemara says, fine. Let's say you go ahead and you do it like we thought. You take the kmitza, you burn it, and then you get around and doing the sprinkling. That makes sense. Just get through with this and then move on to the next stage. Okay? No. Because anything that was used in a sacrificial context, you cannot burn on the altar. So like, what? What does this mean? So Rashi says what it means is the following. Rashi says, and this is a fascinating idea. Okay, there's a principle which is lo saktiru mimenu ishel laHashem. Okay, that something that was used already as a korban can't be offered up and burnt on the altar. So like, let's say, for example, a simple example, because this is similar to a mincha. You burnt the kmitza on the mincha. I'm now going to go ahead and take the remnant of this mincha and burn it on the fire, on the altar fire, as if it's an offering. That would be a violation. Anything that was sort of already used in a sacrificial context, but is not itself put on the altar, you cannot, kol shemi menu ishim, anything that a part of it went on the fire. So think about a mincha. Some of the mincha went on a fire. The remnant of it cannot be the remnant of it cannot be burnt on the fire. Now, what here is being burnt on a fire? So the way Rashi reads this is fascinating. You went ahead and you did your kmitza and you burnt it. This is mimenu ishim. The remnant of the oil, some of it went to the fire. Now, and because it might all be nedava oil, you're now going to use it as a ritual on this mitzvah towards the kodesh. Rashi says the same way you're not allowed to use this remnant of the oil and burn it on the fire, lo taktiru, you can't use the remnant of the oil and use it in some mikdash ritual. That sprinkling it on the guy, sprinkling it towards the kodesh, that is like an act of haktara. So that's a big chiddush because the verse emphasizes lo taktiru. But for Rashi, that's the problem. Once you put some of this on the fire, this remnant, the same way you're not allowed to burn this remnant on the fire, you're not allowed to use this remnant in this ritual. Okay, that's the way Rashi reads it. Tosfos reads it in a different way, but let's go with Rashi, then I'll go back and tell you how Tosfos reads it.
It says because, I'm just reading the note.
Yeah.
Because it's corresponding to the burning of animal sacrifices on the altar.
That's what I'm saying.
Same as
the sprinkling on this, the sprinkling on the mitzvah or the sprinkling towards the aron is similar to burning a korban on the fire.
Yeah,
right. Okay, I don't know if you need to say animal, but it's similar to burning a korban on the fire. Yeah. Okay, so that's what Rashi says. The same way I can't take the remnant of this oil and burn it on the fire, I can't take the remnant of this oil and use it in some type of a ritual. Okay, in the mikdash ritual. That's how Rashi says.
Are we sure we need the remnant because there's not going to be enough?
Not that there's not going to be enough. It's just a prohibition. Kol shemimenu liishim. If some of a korban went on the fire, the stuff that didn't go on a fire, you're not allowed to offer on the fire. And Rashi is saying Baal Taktiru, to read this Gemara, it doesn't just mean you can't put it on the fire, but you can't use it in some other mikdash ritual.
So that equates like when this fellow's getting it sprinkled, it's being sprinkled.
He's like
he's feeling as if it's some kind of
something is being offered on him or something like that. Yeah, I know. I do think that is powerful. Right. That's saying that the sprinkling on him, or it's not exactly how we mean sprinkling on him, or the sprinkling towards the mikdash, but one of the ways we're seeing that is actually a type of a korban, right? That's clearly how Rashi is looking at it. Okay. So how are you going to do this? How can you now use this for the ritual? So Amar Rabbi Yehuda Braid Reb Shimon Pazi, the Maskulu L'Shem Eitzim. Nah, you just treat it like wood. Okay, what does that mean? Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, L'Reach Nichoch Iyat Hamala. You can't burn certain things on the altar, doing them as a type of a korban. Aval atamale l'shem eitzim. You can say, it's just fuel. I'm just putting it on the fire, not as a korban, as fuel. So when you have these types of cases where, 1 minute, if this is not the right thing, you're not allowed to burn it, then what you say is, fine, if it's not the right thing, I'm not putting it on the fire as a korban, I'm just putting it on the fire to feed the fire. It's fuel. So now the funny thing here is, we're not feeding a fire the way Rashi is reading it. What Rashi really says, the Gemara wanted to say is, after I go ahead and put this on the fire, I can't use this remnant for a ritual. So what I'm going to say is the following. If this guy is a mitzorah, and this is mitzorah oil, I'm doing this as mitzorah sprinkling. If this guy isn't a mitzorah, and I've already brought part of this as a korban, I'm just doing this to cool him off. I'm not doing this as a ritual. I'm just doing this like water. Okay? And therefore, you can sort of pretend, and you're not really doing it the same way you could burn stuff on the fire as fuel, and it wouldn't be a violation. You could just do that for fun. Okay? We're just playing a game. Okay, so that's the way Rashi would say. What bothers Tosfos is that when it says you treat it like wood, clearly means we're talking about something you're putting on a fire. The way Rashi should have said it, and the way the Gemara says it in other contexts is, we should just say, if it's not real, then it's just like water. You shouldn't have said it's just like wood. You should have said it's just like water, which is what the Gemara says in other contexts. So that's Tosfos' question on Rashi, which leads to the way Tosfos reads it. And let me just double check before I say it. Okay, so Tosfos says like this. Hold on. Just going to double check the way Tosfos reads it. Right, so Tosfos says like this. Tosfos says the problem is not the sprinkling. Tosfos says the problem is like this. The same way you're not allowed to take the remnant of a mincha and burn it up on the altar, mimenu li'ishim, you're not allowed to burn up. He says, in the scenario that this oil is mitzorah oil, he says, now this is one of the two ways you have to bridge a gap. Rashi said sprinkling is like burning up. So it says, no, we're talking about really burning. What we're asking is, how are you allowed to burn this? Now, why not? Because the same way you're not allowed to burn, let's say, the remnant of a mincha, if this is mitzorah oil, so that's being used in a particular ritual. That's sanctified for a particular ritual. You're not allowed to burn something that has another korban role. The same way you can't burn the remnant of a mincha because it's got another korban role and you're not allowed to burn it on the altar. This, which has a korban role of oil used for mitzorah, how are you allowed to burn mitzorah oil on the altar? You can't burn leftover mincha on the altar. How are you allowed to burn mitzorah oil on the altar? Okay? And the answer is, it's just fuel. The answer, you treat it like fuel. So Rashi says the question is, how are you allowed to sprinkle nidava oil on the mitzorah? And the answer is you pretend that it's just water. Tosfos' question is, how are you allowed to burn mitzorah oil on the altar? And the answer is you treat it just like it's fuel. So one way or the other, you sort of pretend and you're able to sort of, do it both ways. Okay? Okay, so now we'll end with that for now. We're already one full daf ahead from the normal daf. And to be